I am a yoga therapist, and for people who don't know what that is, many folks don't know what that is. It's a person with who uses the skills of yoga to the tools of yoga to help in a therapeutic setting. Any way that's anything that could be considered therapeutic. I have worked with, and other yoga therapists work with, people with MS, people with spinal cord injury, people with brain injury, and cancer. People with cancer happens to be another sort of specialty. And so I have worked at Emory for a good bit prior to COVID, still a little bit there, in the bone marrow transplant unit. That's my most recent work there, using these tools of mindfulness, of yoga, to help folks who are undergoing treatment. So it's not yoga, it's not what I think people typically think of yoga is. You've got to go to a studio and you got to have an outfit on and you got to be 20, and really flexible. That is really just the media popularizing yoga. It is not the true philosophy and science of yoga, which is simply taking some of the tools that yoga offers and offering them to people, applying them, adapting them in different situations. And they adapt really well. Even when you're really sick, yoga can be very helpful. So I'm going to go through a little bit of the tools. I don't want to do a lot of talking, but I did want to demystify the idea of yoga, because a lot of people think it's yoga studio. And also there's kind of a myth about it being a religious practice. And while it has some origins in Hinduism and has been practiced in the East for many, centuries, these modernized tools have been taken out of that context and are applied in these medical clinical settings, therapeutic kinds of settings. So there isn't really any religious dogma or philosophy. So my specialty and my interest is in bringing these kinds of very usable, very kind of user-friendly yoga tools to everyone, to make them accessible, regardless of what your religious practices are, whether you have a body that, has a particular ability or no ability or limited ability. It really doesn't matter. So a lot of because it can all be helpful. Even some of these adaptive yoga practices can be used in situations where people have no body function, like bone marrow transplant, where they're completely, or many people, not all, wiped out and fatigued from immune suppression. And or I've used them with people with paraplegia who don't have any body function, can't move their hands, legs. So these tools amaze me, and I live by them myself. So that's part of the reason I feel like I'm an advocate for their use and practice as an adjunct to whatever you're already doing to help yourself. So I understand I can't see all of you, which is unfortunate, because we could connect in that way, in that visual way. But the power of the internet to even connect in this way is still kind of amazing to me. So even though I can't see you, I can feel you. I know you're out there. And I know that there's a wide range of folks who might be attending this workshop, this seminar today, from folks just newly diagnosed, maybe in the middle of a cancer treatment regimen, or way on the other end and in full, vibrant recovery. So these practices can benefit you in all of those stages. And I just want to acknowledge that even if you aren't feeling well, even if you have limited mobility or ability, they can really help. So, what is mindfulness? It's really just a slowing down, an attention management system. It's been tossed around and it's kind of added to a lot of different situations, but basically it's just slowing things down and paying very close attention to what's going on in your mind, in your body, in your space. And that is one of the tools that yoga really handles well. And mindfulness was studied kind of scientifically not that long ago here in the United States. A man named John Kabat-Zinn studied the effects of being mindful, of slowing things down on the stress levels of patients in a Northeastern hospital. And that's really our first time of studying that it really does help do things like lower your heart rate. There's something called heart rate variability. That's the ability of your heart to, if I can get this right, it's a variation in the time between the heart beats. And they can measure that and they can see whether your resiliency is strong, whether you come back easily physiologically from a trauma event, whether it affects your blood pressure and your heart rate and your nervous system. And so these techniques have actually been studied. That's why we call them evidence-based. So they're not really just new age cool things that make you feel good. They really actually have an impact on your body, on your physical health. And that's why we know that they're good for when you're dealing with an illness event like cancer, because we know that stress exacerbates everything, increases inflammation, and we want to reduce stress and reduce inflammation. And also, we're all trying to feel good. So I can testify that meditation and mindfulness and these kinds of practices help you feel good. They help you feel better and able to cope with life, whatever you're dealing with, whether it's a physical issue, a physiological issue, or the stress of a relationship, or a economic stress, family stress, grief. So what I really want to do is practice with you, but I did want to say give a few comments to help you maybe feel more comfortable trying some of these techniques, so that you don't feel, oh, well, it's not for me because, of my religious background, or I'm not flexible. I hear a lot of people talk about yoga and the first thing they say is, I'm not flexible. Like, that's not the point. So let's try. I think I've covered all of the most important issues that I wanted to mention. The other thing that I have written down that I'd like to mention is these mindfulness practices can help with sleep. And I know that because some of the work I was doing with people with cancer at Emory, we took some data on whether they slept better or not. We did not measure physiologically. We didn't use a heart monitor or a device to actually measure the number of hours of sleep. It was all self-reported, but it immensely helped with cancer-related fatigue. And we all know that that's a huge issue from the treatments, from all the changes in your body, and stress. So even if you can just grab onto that nugget, it's a great help. It's not going to fix everything, but it's a step, it's a tool in your bag, along with all the other things that you're doing. And I know very intimately the trauma of a diagnosis and the trauma of treatment, of having to quickly take action and make decisions, and then all the dominoes that fall in line after that. So yoga can also, and this mindfulness can also help you become more resilient, so that when you have to face these events again and again, sometimes until things get smoothed out, you have spare mental capacity to engage again when you need to. So, but more than anything, it's not me telling you, it's really for you to discover in your own laboratory of your own life and your body and your journey with cancer, or as a cancer caregiver or advocate, to really discover how these tools can help you. So I think we're gonna do a few different practices. I'm gonna ask you first, if you have any questions about anything I've said right now, please put it in the chat. Raise your hand, let Leslie or one of the moderators know what you intend to ask. And then the way I'd like to proceed is to do some practices, break them up into small pieces so you can get a little bit of a taste for them, and have some time in between for any feedback or any questions that you might have. And the good part, I think, there's always good and bad in this virtual, good and not so good in this virtual setting, is that you don't have to feel ridiculous, like your question is not a good question, or be embarrassed by the question or by your experience. You can just write it in the chat, and then it'll be fed through Leslie to me, and then we can discuss it. Because I think there's a lot of mystery about mindfulness and meditation and what all of that means. And I think the best way to understand it is to practice and then be able to ask questions. Is it supposed to be like this, or this is what I experienced? Is that right? That kind of thing. Okay, so before we begin opening up to questions, I'm not hearing any. Any questions? I guess
if anyone has a question, feel free to type it in the chat right now for Terri. Give it just a second, and then if not, we'll let her go ahead.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any come through yet, Terri. So if you want to go ahead and just get started, I can interrupt you if we have any.
So I'm feeling like my chair is pretty small, but it's very comfortable. So that reminds me,
Terri, we have a, sorry, not to interrupt you. We have a raised hand. I'm gonna allow her to come off mute really quick and ask her question. This is from Anna.
Okay. Hi,
Hey,
Anna.
Anna. Oh, you're muted, but I think I can ask you to unmute yourself. Let's see. There we go. Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Anna. Hi, Terry. My name is Anna.
Hey, nice to meet you. What's your
Nice
question?
to meet you. Well, so my question is, how soon? I love yoga. By the way, start that off. I have done yoga before. It's been a while, but I've done it before several years ago, and I do want to get back into it. I am a breast cancer patient. Um, uh, so my question is, um, how soon, because I'm going to be starting radiation treatment soon.
Mhm.
So how soon after radiation treatments is it like considered safe to like start yoga again? I know they do encourage, my physical therapist and doctors, they encourage, the stretches and
Mhm.
everything, special arm stretches, which I've
Right.
done, after surgery, and they encourage stretches after radiation. But
Yeah.
like
No.
what's is there kind of like a safe, you know what I mean, like a safe timeline to kind of start like a full yoga regimen, like
Yeah.
after all the treatments?
Got it. That's a good question. Um, my recommendation would be first to work closely with your doctor team and to choose a practice. I think you could be doing yoga all through your treatment. Um, is it going to look like what you did before? Probably not. You probably would be limited in some of your movements. But yoga is more than just movement. It's breathing practice, which helps your lymphatic system all through your treatment. We want the lymph to flow and not stagnate. It can be, I teach a lot of chair yoga, just not in this chair, but in a similar chair where you just slowly moving your body around. There are a lot of adaptive spinal flex, seated spinal flex, and forward bends, and lots of things that you can do that graduate a typical in the studio yoga practice that can give you a really um, a smaller version that steps you up until you can attend a class again. And I would be very selective about which classes I'd attend because there are, as you know, lots of yoga studios and lots of folks who teach just like they're in a gym and everybody does the same thing and it moves fast, fast, fast. And that's probably not going to be good for you. So there are, I can't recommend right now. I know one class here in Decatur run by a woman, and she's skilled enough to be able to graduate the practices and adapt them for wherever people are in their treatment. But you need to have somebody like that that you can access who can either work with you one-on-one so that you know what you can do, and then you can take that information and go modify your practice yourself, or go to a class that's set up that has an instructor that has some knowledge about how to adapt. It's really important so that you don't jump back in and get discouraged and or hurt yourself. So I hope that answers.
I think
Yeah,
that answered it.
yeah.
Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good question. All right, well, let's get to the practices. So, and this is one of the tools of yoga is mindfulness, a mindfulness meditation practice. So make sure you have yourself seated somewhere comfortably. It doesn't have to be in a chair. It can be on the couch. It can be propped in your bed with pillows, someplace where you can sit for an extended period of time, say 10, 15 minutes. We're not going to do any movement. So you could be lying down, it doesn't really matter. But what we are going to do is work with the mind and breath. And your body is your closest prop, if you will. We call things that we use in a yoga studio props, like yoga mat is a prop. They use a lot of props in adaptive yoga. These blocks that I have here are used a lot in yoga studios. So if your chair is too high, mine is kind of too low, you'd put your feet on some blocks, or you use some blocks to help support your body. Your body, though, is the closest and most handy prop you have for mindfulness and meditation. It's a way of accessing, it's more than a prop, it's a way of accessing your innermost self by using a part of your cognitive function that isn't thinking. Most of the time, we think of our brain, we think of cognition, and we're always, and it goes right to the intellect. What do I think? What am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? Oh, why did she say that? And we're up in our thoughts all the time. And so these practices help use the brain's function to bring your attention into your body rather than up into your thoughts. That's where all the powerful work comes from. We call it interoception, interoception, CEPTION, the ability to turn inside and notice all that's going on. Your brain is still functioning, your thinking is still going on, but you've managed your attention and pulled it to the inside. So in that way, your body becomes a kind of a tool for you to work with your mind, which is the most powerful stressor we have. Because you might have something going on with your body, but we all know the mind is what creates the stress. Worrying about the body, fretting about the body, trying to control things, trying to manage things. We have to have those functions to live. They aren't bad. It's just that we rely on them a little too heavily. So these practices give you a way to come back into your body. I realize that in cancer, there can be a sensation, there can be a feeling, a belief that your body's not reliable anymore. It's pretty normal and natural. And maybe an aversion to going inside your body, to trusting your body. And these practices can also help with that. So get yourself comfortable so that you can access your body in a way that feels right for you. Lying down, sitting up. Just make sure that you can sustain the position, that it's not uncomfortable. You're not sitting with your legs crossed just because you think you're supposed to. Sit comfortably. You can meditate anywhere. And we're going to use the senses as a way to navigate the body, because we all know what our senses are and how they function. And it's the most direct way in. Some people might use a candle or a mantra or a chanting, but we always have our bodies. So it's my favorite way to access. So close your eyes wherever you are. Sit all the way back, get yourself comfortable wherever you are, and let your mind focus on directions, not understanding the directions, just following them. There's going to be no big explanation now. You can let the thinking mind go. And we're just going to be doing something called sensing. So when I guide you to a body part or an experience in your body, rather than visualize it or move that body part so you can tell what's going on, or look at that body part so you can see it, I want you to really practice feeling it from the inside with your mind. But we're going to start even a little bit outside the body, starting with sound. So with your eyes closed, or if you choose to have them open, you can have them open and just let them gaze softly out beyond, not looking, not grabbing onto what you see, but just letting them be relaxed, not working hard. Notice the sounds in your space. It's helpful to have the TV off and the ringers off and all of that so that they don't grab your attention. Notice things like birds if you have your windows open. You might be able to hear them in my space. The refrigerator, the air conditioner, the machines that you have in your space that are humming, ceiling fan. Any music. And notice the layers of sound, that there are many sounds happening. There may be very little sound. And then you can explore that, what it sounds like to have silence. So now we're going to begin to add on to that. Notice any smells. I know if you're undergoing chemo or other kinds of treatments, smell can be a hugely amplified sensory. So notice if there are smells you can detect. Sounds, smells, even tastes. Taste the inside of your mouth. Nobody ever asks us to do that, but just try it. Notice what that's like. Something you've just eaten, you're drinking. Maybe just that taste that's always there that you never notice. We're not going to use vision as one of the senses that we're going to rely on, but we will move now into the sense of touch and rely pretty heavily on that. So we've noticed sound, smell, taste. And now we're going to just begin to touch base with the body. If you find your mind constantly going up into thoughts, how long is this going to last? She's talking so much. No, I really want to, what I have to do later, just whatever. We all have our way. Keep bringing yourself back. Don't try to stop the thoughts. Just bring yourself back to the body and the direction I'm giving, even if it's 100 times. very normal. It'll slow down eventually. So notice first where you're sitting. This is the sense of touch. All the places your body is touching. The back of your body, if you're sitting, lying down all the way to your head, the back of your legs, buttocks. Notice the pressure. The pressure of just the weight of your body. The heaviness there. You may also notice pain, numbness, tingling, vibration. You might notice nothing. There might be no feeling. Or you might not have access to that and not be able to really feel what you're feeling or know it. That's okay. These are practices. The more you do them, the better you get. Really develop a neural network, a new pathway from your brain to that part you're trying to sense. It might not be there. So don't worry about it. You can't feel it. Let's try noticing the top of the head and the sides of the head. There are a lot of nerve endings in the head, the face, the mouth. Sense inside the mouth. Just try it for a minute without moving your tongue or your lips or anything. Just notice all the sensation right inside your mouth, your cheeks, your tongue, the roof and floor of your mouth, where your lips touch. And as you begin to notice, see if it doesn't feel like it kind of grows, like all of a sudden there's all this sensation. It could be temperature, heat or cold, prickly, vibration. There could be pain. Sense your scalp and then down to the forehead. Eyebrows and eyes. And on down the face to the nose and cheeks, cheekbones, lips, chin, and jaw. And sense the jaw all the way up on either side, up to the ears. The right side from the chin all the way up to the right ear. And then sense the left side of the jaw from the chin all the way up to the left ear. See if you can do them separately. And now sense the ears, the outer part, this right ear, this left ear. And see if you can sense them both at the same time, the right ear and the left ear, and only the ears. Just the ears, practicing sensing. Good. So we've been doing that for at least 5 minutes, maybe more. Let your eyes begin to open up and come back into your space with eyes open. And then turn your attention inside. Notice how you're feeling. Just kind of give yourself a little evaluation. Is it calmer, better, worse, more agitated, less agitated, more alert than when you started? Sleepy? There's no right or wrong. It's just noticing. And when you begin to notice and can name it, then that becomes powerful. That's your tool. That's how you stay connected with your truest self, not the thinking mind and how it evaluates things and what it thinks about things, but really who's living right inside here and how is that? So we'll continue on. We'll do another little practice with breath. But I'd like you to, if you can, if you have any questions, to take a moment and ask about that experience. Any questions that you have. I just want to make sure, even if you think, was this feeling okay to feel, or I didn't feel anything, or my mind was busy the whole time and wasn't able to stay with you. Any questions?
Not seeing any come through quite yet. So that's a good sign too.
So I would call that 5-10 minutes of meditation. We all did it. It's not magic. It's really attention management. All right, so let's continue. So now you have maybe a little taste of where we're going. A little taste of feeling calm, kind of floaty. I'll describe what I'm feeling. Just a little bit like, okay, let's just keep going on in a kind of a groove with myself, like relaxed, not really bothered by anything, and not a lot of thoughts. So close your eyes again and turn your attention inside. You can notice the smells and the sounds, but more likely, you're probably more interested, I know I am already, in coming back into the body and being with the body. And remember, as we move through, you may experience sensations that are unpleasant. They love to grab your attention, and that's okay. This practice is about welcoming everything that's there, everything we experience. What ends up happening is, if there is an attention-grabbing sensation like pain or nausea or numbness or the tingling and painfulness that comes with neuropathy, it usually grabs your mind's attention so much that that's all you're thinking about. And when you do these practices, it sort of evens that attention out. And you start attending to other things in the body, parts that don't hurt or don't feel bad, which ends up lessening the perception of pain. That's one of the key tools of pain management and symptom management. So if you encounter something not fun, not pleasant, that's okay. Just kind of try to be with as welcoming an attitude as you can. So close the eyes. We left off at the ears. Sense both ears, face, the scalp. And then let's travel down the body to the neck, shoulders. Just notice the shoulders. We're not trying to change or manage anything we find. Just noticing. Body settles on its own most of the time. So notice the bones of the shoulders, the heaviness of the bones. And then down the arms. Start with the right. And this is where it gets more skillful, to pay attention to parts of the arms and develop the skill. Attend to the upper arm, right arm, elbow, forearm, the right wrist and the right hand. Only the right hand and right arm. Particularly the palm, the fingers, just really tune into the right arm. And notice all the aliveness there. Just the right arm. Left arm. Starting up at the shoulder, sense the upper arm. Elbow. Forearm and wrist. The left hand and the palm and fingers. Left arm. Notice all of what you experience. Left arm. And then try sensing both at the same time. Left and right, both together, just the arms. Tune in. Right arm, left arm, simultaneously. Good. Sense down the body. So from the shoulders, we're going to move down the torso, starting with the collarbones, chest. Sense the belly, pelvis. The back of the body, every place that's touching, even maybe parts that aren't touching. The upper back, middle back, low back. Sense the buttocks, the hips. And at the base of the torso, sense the pelvic floor and the genitals. Just sense, no movement. A lot of nerve endings there for you to tune into. Hold whole torso. Notice the aliveness, organs, inside. Sense the legs, down the right leg, to the thigh, the knee, shin and calf, ankle, and the foot, and the toes of the right leg. Whole right leg. Notice all the aliveness there. Right leg. Left leg, start up at the thigh where it connects. Left knee, sense the left shin and calf, left ankle. Left foot and the toes. The entire left leg, sense all of whatever's there. And then sense both legs at the same time, right and left. Just the legs. And now the whole body, putting it all together. Head, shoulders, arms, torso, genitals, legs, feet, hands, mouth, whole body. Sense the whole body. And now notice the breath. Without changing it, manipulating it, trying to do anything special with it. Just notice the breath moving in and out of this lit up body, lit up with your own awareness. Whatever parts are lit up. There's more, I hope, access to the body, so that as you track the breath and notice it as it travels into the nostrils, you can feel it coming in, moving through the entire body, all of the cells, not just the lungs. The energy of the breath, the life force that's associated with that incoming breath. And notice it as it leaves. Tune into how the body moves to receive the breath. On the inhale, an expansion. And on the exhale, a contraction or a moving inward as the air moves out. Or maybe you notice something else in your breathing, a different pattern, which is not uncommon. Maybe you notice the rhythm of your breath, some breath holding, forgetting to take a breath, some habit you might be aware of or you might not be aware of. Don't worry about it right now, trying to change or fix it. Remember, just welcoming everything we experience in this practice. which helps us translate that to the outside world. Just learning to be okay with what we encounter, all of it, what we love and what we don't love. And here's our laboratory right here in this body. So now begin to just signal to yourself that you're going to transition out of this state of interoception, of looking inward to really notice what's there. You can let your eyes slowly open up. Sometimes moving your fingers or your toes helps with the transition, just making some movement. And you might have fallen asleep, which is okay. That was another good 10, 15 minutes of meditation, of mindfulness meditation, paying close attention to what's going on right here in your body. So once again, notice how you feel. An interesting little side note is that most of the time, even if you fall asleep and someone's guiding the practice with their voice like I was, there's a part of you that's paying attention while you're in this state of sleep. So your body ends up getting the same benefit from the relaxation practice as if you were awake listening to it. There's a whole specific practice about that called Yoga Nidra that I like to deliver and also participate in. It's called psychic sleep. It's like putting yourself in a state of certain subconscious where you're really resting deeply in your body, but your mind is able to pay attention on some level. It's very nourishing. So notice how you feel. Or more alert, less alert, sleepy, calm, maybe agitated, maybe feel like you got to get up and walk around. I know I do, sitting for a while like this. And notice the state of your mind. And notice if your thoughts have slowed down or the content has changed. Sometimes that happens too. Less anxiety, less worried thoughts, and more, interested thoughts or commentary kind of thing. Everybody's experience is different. Everybody's unique. So there's nothing good, bad, wrong about any of it. So let your eyes open up and come fully back into the room. It looks like we have a few more minutes of time left, and I am curious if you have any questions or even comments about that experience. If it was helpful, if it was not helpful, if it clarified things for you about mindfulness and meditation. And if it's something that you are interested in, I think that would be important feedback to give to your administrators, to see about getting groups going or whatever, or finding a group that you can belong to. My one piece of advice for just starting these kinds of practices is that I think it's difficult to do on your own. I think it's more, I know it helped me and continues to help me to join with the energy of others in a group to help support my practice, not just for the discipline of knowing I have to show up at a certain time, but there's an energetic support, I think, that we can give each other that helps strengthen the practice, in my experience. So
Yes.
you can certainly do them on your own.